Oh my God. I am glad that I waited a little bit after Raw was finished, because otherwise I would have been just screaming into this microphone with how hype I am. And don't worry, we're going to get into it, because if I start talking about him right now, then that's basically, well, that is the point of this video anyway, but I wanted to talk about how we got there first. So this is not necessarily a complete Raw recap. This is only primarily talking about what went down that was the biggest takeaway of the entire show. Now, before we even get to that, I do want to give a shout out to Naomi, because that woman deserves her flowers. She's come up from, I want to say in a way, like a character crisis. I think in wrestling, one of the biggest challenges is to continue to keep yourself relevant. And sometimes going back to the well and relying on your gimmick too much, and in her case, it was all about the glow this, glow that. And while that character was a lot of fun, it kind of ran its course, and people still liked Naomi, they still cared about her, but they didn't really have that same energy towards her, much like how they do with a lot of the newer, fresher faces that we've been seeing over the last few years. So ever since she came back, she, of course, brought back the glow in a sense, like quite literally, she brought the glow back. And she had a very, like, you know, whatever kind of an initial run, and her involvement only got interesting up until the point where she started getting involved with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. And so I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I did want to just, you know, emphasize and shout her out and saying, like, she's awesome. I love this new heel character. I think it was the right call, and I don't think it was too much of like an ass pull, if you will. I'm sure there's some people out there that do feel like that, but in my honest and most humblest of opinions, I'm pretty sure that this was not only just the right call, but it was necessary. And if you guys want me to talk more about that in like another video, let me know in the comments your thoughts on the recent Money in the Bank successful cash in from Naomi. And again, big shout out to our new world heavyweight women's champion. So let's go back to what I was trying to talk about. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but in a weird way, it is somewhat relevant, I guess, because of the family tree, if you feel me. So anyways, we had a gauntlet match, okay, that featured Jey Uso, featured Penta, featured Braun Breaker, and CM Punk. And hold on, I had it right in front of me. How do I forget the fifth person? LA Knight. Yeah, that's crazy. How do I forget that? Anyway, we had those five. They were the main event. That was kind of the entire point, or the big, I guess, like thing to build up towards, because we're 3 weeks away from SummerSlam. It doesn't really feel like there's a lot of gap time in between like these big PLEs anymore, just because of the oversaturation that WWE has. Whether or not that is, you know, because they're trying to get in the way of AEW, let's face it. But again, that's another separate topic for another video. If you want me to talk more about it, then feel free to let me know in the comments. I'd be more than willing. Maybe we can even do a live stream one day. I have no idea. But either way, here we are. The Gauntlet match. This is the big thing to set up the SummerSlam. Who's going to go off to face Gunther for the world title? And my guess, just like with everyone else's, this was pretty free for CM Punk. Now, the whole show, they were building up Braun Breaker, and Braun Breaker was going to run the gauntlet in a sense. And for the most part, I mean, he kind of did. Even though he did have a little bit of assistance from Bronson Reed. I almost called him Braun Strowman. But Bronson Reed, is a lot of bronze, bro. I don't know, whatever. So Bronson Reed, even though he had the Bronson assist, especially towards the later end of the entire gauntlet, you know, Braun Breaker, he's a beast. He's a Steiner. He's a freaking beast. He ran through the entire gauntlet. It wasn't very easy. Like, he didn't like one-shot anybody or anything like that, but it was a showing that you would expect out of a Braun Breaker. Now, the interesting part was that this is something that I'm not even going to lie, as the big Roman Reigns fan that I am, I finally said his name, is the big Roman Reigns fan that I am, and as far as, you know, bloodline, all that kind of stuff, like, I really did not see him returning here. And the reason why is because logistically, I don't even understand why he would in the first place. So let's get to it. So when CM Punk inevitably wins, right? Because, you know, CM Punk, you know, you got to have him on the SummerSlam show, big marquee match, finally gets his one-on-one world heavyweight opportunity, especially now that Seth is injured, quote unquote. We could talk about more about that, of course. And I guess I will be talking about that because that kind of plays into, my confusion, if you will. So CM Punk, he gets beat down. Funny enough, Jay, that was already eliminated from said match, he runs back in and tries to save him. But of course, they get out-muscled, out-meated, if you will, by both Brawns. And this was the moment where I'm just like, this is clearly where someone would kind of run in. And I was like, yeah, I can feel it. You know how something's about to happen. Like, you could feel the energy, right? And like, I was trying to like do some like work on the side here. And I was, doing some things, and like I had to stop because I was like, yeah, no, I need to really pay attention to like what's going on in this match. And then all of a sudden you hear the and I actually screamed. And this is why I waited like about an hour after the show to just get to this video, because I would have just been yelling into this mic, like I said at the start of this. So here we go. Our boy, the Tribal Chief, is back. Now, here's the question. After he, made the save, he came in, completely annihilated Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. Sometimes I be forgetting how strong Roman is. He freaking lifted up Bronson Reed and dropped him. Like Samoan dropped him, son. And it was such a awesome thing to see. Like, first of all, it's a treat in and of itself to see our man back in the wrestling ring one more time. But just to see him work, like the pop for him was amazing. Like, dude, I love wrestling sometimes. Like when it hits, man, it hits. And when you get a sick return, like when Roman comes back, like, dude, we haven't seen him since day after WrestleMania, right? So it's been months, and people have been speculating, like, man, when's Roman coming back? Like, what's his plan for SummerSlam? Like, what's his involvement? And I feel like we have more of a clear picture, but I still don't know for sure exactly what's going to happen. So here we go. So anyway, he makes a save. He reaches his hand out for Jay, lifts up Jay. They like kind of do like a little thing right there, which was sick to see. It was awesome. Like, he acknowledges his cousin, right? So that's very fire. And of course, he looks at CM Punk and he's just like, right? He gives one of those, like he don't really trust him, or they're not really on the same page anymore ever since WrestleMania, because obviously they were in a big triple threat back when that happened. But it's not like he went and attacked CM Punk right thereafter. So again, here we go. The question, why is Roman here? Point blank. Like, why is he here? So this is more of like an open-ended, because I'm actually curious to see what you guys think and what are your pitches, because to be honest, with Seth being injured, okay, because if you guys have been following any of the news, any of the other big podcasts, wrestling shows and whatnot that go over all the rumor speculations and just insider news on professional wrestling all around, you'll hear a lot of mixed things. You're going to hear that this is a part of the show, so it's a work, or, he's legitimately injured, or it's a mix of the two, where this spot that happened where he bumped his knee or whatever when he was fighting LA Knight over the weekend, that was a planned angle, but that was also in place to cover an actual injury that isn't related to what they're trying to make it out to be. You know what I'm saying? And Paul Heyman, even earlier in the show, added some emphasis to say, like, Seth Rollins has until next June to cash this in. So as far as everyone else is concerned, like, y'all don't even have to worry about his health. Obviously, everyone's going to be concerned, because it's like whenever we find out that a wrestler is hurt or actually ill or whatever, like, everyone, stops what they're doing, like, oh, snap, like, I hope they're okay. Like, I hope it's nothing serious, right? Which is really, that's the one thing I feel like wrestling fans all actually come together for, which is very odd and rare, but, like, again, separate topic. So Seth is not involved anymore for now, but like I said, injured, right? So it's like, it's strange, because being that they're 3 weeks away, why would you do this whole I'm injured angle 3 weeks out to then try to make some sort of like surprise, interference, cash in to ruin CM Punk's moment, which does make sense if they wanted to add that element of surprise, but I feel like people are still going to expect it. But now when you add Roman into the mix, the only thing I could logistically think of or even like offer as something to work off of is if Seth is going to be there to try to stop CM Punk from winning, is Roman here to stop Seth from stopping CM Punk? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that all that's going on here? Like, because you would think or you would expect for someone like Roman Reigns to have a match. And as of right now, what is that match? Is he just going to have a one-on-one with Braun Breaker? Is he going to have a one-on-one with Bronson Reed? Is he going to have a tag team match? I literally just thought of this right now. Is it going to be him and Jay versus the Brawns? Because let's be honest, what is Jay going to be doing on the show, right? Like, he's not in any sort of title picture. The Intercontinental title is in a program with AJ Styles and Dominic Mysterio, which I'm not going to lie, that what they have going on, I know it's like very like minute in comparison to this, but what they're doing with this whole like, I'm sick, I can't wrestle with the doctor's note, and AJ being like, I'm watching you, I feel like that shit is mad funny. Anyway, right? So Jay really is kind of like in a strange spot where he's still inserted into world title angles, like as far as matches goes, but he's not winning any of those anymore. Like, I feel like we're getting past that. He's still going to be called Main Event Jey Uso and whatnot, but I think as of right now, the only logical thing that makes sense to have Roman Reigns have a match at SummerSlam is if he teams up with Jay to face the Brawns. And they can still try to do this whole thing where, oh, Seth is still injured, blah, 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 blah. Then they could still try to have him screw over CM Punk. And then that's when Roman, which he would have already had his match. That match I could see opening the show, right? For SummerSlam for one of the nights, whether there's night 1 or night 2. I'm pretty sure that he would then go in, ruin his cash in, so that way they can get back to that and having what I honestly would have much preferred for this past WrestleMania being like a Seth versus Roman match, because this goes back to older videos that I've previously done here on this channel where I've talked about like how I feel robbed even still that we never got that Roman versus Rock match. And to be honest, I feel like I've made peace with it. Like, I'll mention it and I'll talk about it, but like, I don't even think they're going to try to do that anymore. I'm pretty sure The Rock is done, even though, he comes in whenever he wants to and just ruins things, but that's beside the point. I feel like the next most interesting thing, unless you're going to put that WWE Undisputed title right back onto Roman, is if he has another blood feud with Seth, because clearly there's still some unresolved issues between the two. Clearly Seth is always the root cause of all of the things that involves Roman Reigns. They are intertwined at their cores when it comes to wrestling, and I'm okay with it because I know that they're going to deliver. I just don't know exactly what else they would really do outside of to have this big blow-off match, because the way they are and how deeply rooted they are to each other, I don't really think they would ever necessarily be done with each other, like, unless like they have this blow-off match and that's just there to then kind of let that dust settle. They almost have one of those like Will Ospreay and Swerve moments where they have been going at each other's necks. They don't, they don't like each other for the obvious reasons that they don't like each other for. And then they eventually work out their issues to just make the Shield again. Like, I don't know. I loved the Shield, but seeing where Roman is right now and seeing where Seth is right now, like with their characters, I'm not sure if I just want that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm at the point in my love for wrestling where I'm really choosy with certain things. Like, I don't want them to do things for the sake of doing them. Does that make sense? Like for example, and this is aside from WWE, right now in AEW, they are seemingly reuniting Edge and Christian, or I should call it Cope and Christian, right? Adam Copeland. And it feels so random, you know, because when you look at the story of the patriarchy where with Christian's family, not his real family, but like, you know, all the people that he had in there, he was a dick to them like 99% of the time. And it was only recently that he started acting a little nice towards Homeboy, and then they lose one match together, and that was the deciding factor for them all to turn on him. And then all of a sudden Edge just comes back like to make the save. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I grew up watching the Hardys and Edge and Christian, so it's like, yes, a part of me is like, okay, cool, that would be cool to see them do that, but it's like, yeah, you need to build it up better. Like, you can't just throw that at me and just be like, here you go. Like, no, bro, like, you can't just serve that like that. Like, what? Like, no. So similar to this, I don't necessarily think that doing a reformation of the Shield, especially when it's only 2 out of the 3 mains, like, nah, you can't. Nah. I'd rather much prefer them stay as they are, and then but just give me something more compelling. So overall, I thought Raw was pretty good. I like the direction that they are going with Naomi, like I mentioned. That triple threat that they're setting up for SummerSlam between her, Rhea, and Io, right? I think that's going to be a great match. The rest of the card, like, you know, with Dominic and AJ, the Judgment Day, like, all that's whatever. New Day had a backstage segment. I don't know what the hell they're doing with the New Day anymore. It's kind of crazy how they flopped on them. I blame whoever I need to blame. So if y'all know who to blame, let's blame that group of people or whoever, because, like, I don't know how they're gonna, whatever. Side note, that's another video, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna leave that alone. Okay. And then, you know, like this whole Seth thing, we gotta really wait and see. But, like, I guess the last thing I will say is, like, again, to reemphasize, to reiterate, where does Roman really fit in? And are we supposed to now anticipate Roman's appearance every Monday up until SummerSlam at least? Like, is he actually gonna be a reoccurring character again, even if it is for a short amount of time? I would hope so, just so that we could get more answers and to see where his story with what's going on goes right now. Like I said, right now, the only thing that logistically makes sense on the table, if he is to have a match, is to team up with Jay to face the Bronze. Other than that, I highly doubt they're going to throw him in with CM Punk and Gunther. Roman has made it very clear that he has no interest in that world title. The only championship he wants is the WWE Undisputed Championship. And who's involved with that right now is John Cena and Cody. So, yeah, I don't know. Bias me would love for them to just be like, yep, just put all the titles back on Roman. Just do it. He carried the company before, he'll carry it again. Even though they're doing really well right now. So, yeah, but that's all my thoughts post Raw. Pretty decent show, amazing ending, leaves us with a lot to be desired, a lot of questions. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, obviously I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments and we can discuss this more. I'm going to do my best to continue this format of these post-wrestling show discussions. I'll try to do this for NXT as well and for SmackDown. SmackDown's going to be a little iffy though, because I'm usually not here on Fridays. But you know, I got other microphones. I can, you know, do it. You know, I use my phone or whatever. I don't know. If you guys are interested, then also let me know that as well. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourself. Love what you love. Gang, gang.